before I begin, let me say that even though you might be cuddled up in your slippers with a glass of red wine, I want to congratulate you for being on this webinar, because you could be watching Neighbours or something like that and not looking at ways to advance your practice and indeed advance your life quality. And that's really what this is all about. Tonight we're going to be talking about systems, and you probably know this gentleman. It's not a bad photograph of Alan. That's W.E. Deming, who is legendary after the Second World War. As you probably know, he was seconded to Japan, and his approach to systemization totally revolutionized the Japanese economy, and of course turned the economy into one of the leading and most efficient economies on the planet. And one of the quotes from Deming is this, and that is, to improve an organization's goods or services, the system has to be improved rather than searching for the guilty worker or the broken equipment. And really, that's just so key. Sometimes we tend to overlook or not see the need for systems in parts of the business. And so what we're talking about tonight is, how do you harness systems to free yourself up, create a more profitable practice, and be able to work less hours. And I'm going to give you some examples of that too, by the way. Now, having a practice that runs profitably without you means having systems for each stage of the client-patient journey. And obviously, you have systems for all that back of room activity, the medical side of things and the management of the health of an animal. You're obviously got systems there that are watertight, they're proven, but it's the systems at the front end with the client-patient journey where I see, by looking into practices, I see a whole lot of holes and weaknesses there. And really, without clients and patients, I guess having a business is a hypothetical. So what are the reasons for not implementing systems at that front-end client journey? Well, I can give you a whole bunch, but let me give you my favorite ones that I hear. And the first one is, my staff have been here for years and they don't want to change. I've heard this so many times. And my response to that is, well, if you've got something that's going to enhance the client experience, it's going to enhance your quality of life, it's going to increase your profitability, then you need to ask yourself, is it fair to have staff members, and it might only be one or two of them, who are actually throwing an anchor out of the back of the progress ship and holding you back? And my question to practice owners often is, who's paying your overdraft? Are the staff paying it, or are you paying it? Who lies awake at night worrying about the practice? Is it you or is it them? And really, the bottom line of that is, it's your business, and if you can see that you could massively enhance your practice by change, then you either have to change the systems or, in some cases, change the people. And that's probably for a whole other discussion. Second reason is, we're all too busy to allocate the time. And I guess that's a very common problem across just about every business genre on the planet, and I've dealt with thousands of businesses over the years. And the fact is, if you're too busy, it doesn't mean to say that you're doing good busy. You could have, if you were busy rearranging the chairs on the Titanic, it's not being a good form of busy, especially when you can see that there's an urgency to do something else. The third one, we've tried these sorts of things before, and in a few weeks they're forgotten, and that's true. I know of many, many vet practices that have tried initiatives, that put ideas into place, and within a few weeks they're forgotten, or they're completely morphed into something that they weren't before. And that's where having protocols and structure behind the change is so critical. And I'm going to be emphasizing that a lot during this little session we have together. And last one, I reckon I can figure out my own system, so I'll do it myself when I get time. Yes, vets are highly intelligent and very analytical and scientific people, so you probably could sit down and figure out these processes and systems, particularly if you're gifted in the area of professional selling and customer service and the psychology of buying and all of those things. If you're brilliant at that, you could probably sit down and figure out your own systems. However, you've got to ask yourself, when are you going to get time? And is it a good use of your time? Is it the highest purpose for your time? And I would put forward to you that the answer is, if the systems are already there, ready to plug in, why would you even begin and make probably 6 or 8 months or a year's worth of mistakes to find out what you did wrong? All right, here are the stages of the client-patient journey, and I've narrowed this down for the point of keeping on time today, but we start off with a new client appointment, or as you'll see in a minute, more accurately, the opportunity for a new client appointment. Then the reception greeting, then what happens in the consulting room, then the care programs healthcare programs that you and your staff, your team introduce, and your client retention strategy. So they're the 5 areas that we're going to focus on. Now, I know Alan will identify with this. He uses a similar sort of rationale himself in his teachings, but would you be happy with 32% efficiency in your practice? And I'm going to guess the answer is no, but let's have a look at that. Let's say you were performing at 80% efficiency in each of these stages. That would mean, well, 80%, that's pretty good. Where is it? Starting with 100 new client inquiry calls, if we got 80% in each of those areas, we'd have 80 new appointments, 64% performance at the reception area, 51% at the consult room, 80% of the 64, 40% being introduced to care programs, and 32% efficiency at client retention and the long-term longevity of the practice. Okay, now that's a pretty scary statistic. You're going to say, well, can't be right, that can't be right, that's ridiculous. So let's try to be a little bit more realistic. Let's say that you had an efficiency figure of 60% at the new client appointment stage, 90% performance at the reception, 90% in the consulting room, 80% on care programs, and 90% on client retention. Well, that's a lot better, isn't it? Well, it's only 36%. So we've still got a real problem unless we can find systems to lift to world-class standards to activate in each of those areas. Now, even if those low numbers are not a true reflection of your efficiency in your practice, a lack of systems mean your practice is not going to deliver you the financial freedom and the confidence. So, and when I say confidence, I mean the confidence to be able to walk away from your practice and let it run profitably without you. So how do we systemize these 5 stages? Well, let's have a focus on the first one, the new client appointment. Now, the vast majority of new client appointment opportunities begin on the telephone. That will come as no real surprise to you because you know yourself, your phone is the front shop window of your practice. But it does raise the question, do we need protocols to handling those appointments and the opportunities on the phone? I mean, your team have probably been there for years, they're friendly, they're polite. Do we really need protocols? Well, here's some statistics that Alan, through OnSwitch data, provided to me when I was in the UK. And this is really scary. This gives me, I break out in hives looking at this. This pie chart is telling us that only 33% of calls surveyed across UK vet practices are always answered. 67% of them are only sometimes answered. That means it's like having the shop window and pulling the shutters down. It's really scary, and it's happening. And it's happening very often without your awareness because you're doing what you do, what happens out the front with these, and I stress, lovely, friendly, delightful people that you've employed who are well-meaning. If they don't have the right protocols, the right training, and the right systems, then it's effectively as if they're unknowingly pulling the shutters down on the shop window of your practice. Then we can look at the appointments confirmed, not only the lost opportunity of not answering the phone, but what happens when the staff